G'day fellow Oz Cyclone Chaser followers, and welcome to an Oz Cyclone Chaser's Cyclone video update for Australia tonight, the 29th of December 2014. My name's Chris Nitzo. This update is sponsored by our major sponsor this year, Campbell Scientific, when measurements matter. Looking at Australia right now, it seems to be trough central. We've got troughs and fronts and all sorts of things going on throughout the country. This particular trough here over Queensland is creating a lot of weather over Queensland. This particular trough over WA we need to watch because the northern extent of that trough, we could see a low pressure system, or this little heat low here, push offshore and eventually gain a little bit of depth. We're going to watch this particular system for intensification into the future. Up here, this little dotted line up here showing the monsoon trough. The monsoon trough not over Australia yet, still well to our north. However, it will be drifting south over the next few days, and we expect the monsoon onset this weekend around the Northern Territory. So we'll start to see a more monsoonal pattern developing across far northern Australia. With that southward moving monsoon, what we will also see is that monsoon will interact with whatever's happening here off the coast of the Kimberley, and along or inside that monsoon trough, we're going to see that low pressure system intensify and track in a west-southwest direction. Across Queensland, this trough system sort of splits, and what we end up seeing is that the northern part of that trough system will continue producing showers, storms, and a drier change pushes just up the coast here. And so most of our rainfall in Queensland will be located to the north and east of that split trough system. Alright, so what we'll do now is we'll talk about the next week of rainfall, and then following on from that, we'll have a quick look at the WA system and what should develop out here also, which we haven't mentioned yet. The Solomon Islands should see a tropical low developing in that region over the next week. We won't talk about the Gulf of Carpentaria. Now, there are signs that there will be a low here in the Northern Territory or GOC, but that's probably not for 1 to 2 weeks away, and we probably wouldn't cover that in this national update. There's too much variability in that. If you want to learn more about that one, head over to our subscriber service. Become an OCC subscriber, and we'll talk about that one in more detail in that one. But for today, we'll talk about this one and this one. Well, I did show you those trough systems, and you can see here that the rest of today and tonight, the rainfall expected is just to that east of that trough system, and we'll see showers and storms across there, and we're seeing that right now on radar and satellite and lightning tracker as well. We're seeing these storms developing right along or just to the east of that trough line. None of them making it to the coast here in northern Queensland, simply because there's no steering influences to do that. Over Northern Territory, we're seeing widespread showers and storms today. Now, as we get to tomorrow, we'll see those widespread showers and storms over the Territory head a little bit closer to the coast tomorrow, and so we've got a little bit more coastal activity rather than inland activity. Across Queensland, we'll see those storms start to move onshore onto the coastline, a little bit closer to the coast as well. Their initial formation will be closer to the coast, and then therefore they have more chance of making it to the coast here around central Queensland all the way through to Mackay. A lot less chance once you head north of about Bowen, and almost no chance once you head into the northern tropics of Queensland. Across the West Peninsula, we're going to see widespread shower and storm activity, and also the northern Goldfields, Upper Flinders, and the Gulf Country should see a lot of storm activity. The North Kimberley too, remaining quite active. As we head to Wednesday, we're going to see an increase in activity on Wednesday in this pre-monsoonal build-up period, just here off the coast of the Northern Territory in the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf and the far north Kimberley. Across Queensland, once again, isolated showers and thunderstorms across the area, anywhere from central Queensland northwards. And you can see here starting to creep in towards the coastline. Bear in mind, folks, that if you happen to be under one of these storms, you're going to see rainfall that's going to be higher than this. So just be aware of that. So even though the forecast modelling might be showing less than 5 millimetres, if you happen to be trapped underneath a thunderstorm, you're going to get a lot more than that. It's just because the models can't agree on exactly where the storms are going to be that the update here takes an average. So if one model is showing 30 millimetre storm right over the top of you and 3 other models aren't, they're going to divide that 30 millimetres by 4, and that's why you get such low rainfall totals or low rainfall figures. So be aware though that inside a thunderstorm you could see a lot heavier rain than this. Okay, as we head now to Thursday, we're going to see a little bit of a spreading out of the storm activity across Queensland. Once again, some of that making it to the coastline, and we'll see a continuation of fairly active conditions here in the West Peninsula, the northwest districts of Queensland now. We see moisture penetrating further to the south. The northern goldfields, Upper Flinders looks quite active, and even some storms back here around the southwest parts of Queensland and southern central Queensland. We're going to see probably very lightning active storms there, but not very much rain inside them. Across the Northern Territory, most of the rain now pushes offshore, and that's all to do with the developing low pressure system, but don't worry, that'll all come back once the monsoon kicks back in on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, over the North Kimberley, we see a little bit of more moisture seeping southwards and covering pretty well the whole of the coastal Kimberley region. So Broome, Derby, in with a good chance of a storm. Some isolated moisture pushing into the interior parts of WA too, resulting in some storms there. On Friday, you can start to see the development here of a lot heavier rainfall offshore in the southeast Indian Ocean. That's all to do with the coming monsoon. So this is where the low is expected to form out here off the North Kimberley coast, and that's where we're seeing the increase in rainfall. Across the territory, anywhere inland of the coast is going to see isolated showers and thunderstorms. The coast itself might see some enhanced showers on the Friday. However, as I mentioned, once the monsoon kicks in, we should see an increase in activity, and the model here might be underrepresenting it. At this stage, not kicking in until Saturday, Sunday or Monday, but it could come in a little bit earlier on the Friday. Over the West Peninsula too, we're seeing an onshore stream here creating very moist and unstable conditions, so a continuation of showers and storms across the West Peninsula into the northwest districts of Queensland. So Mount Isa in with a great chance at some good thunderstorm activity there on the Thursday, Friday. Over the coastal parts of Queensland, we're seeing a very moist easterly stream here on the Friday, so there's potential here for possibly even heavier falls than forecast on this computer model. But as we head further to the south, those falls become much more isolated. Continuing to see isolated showers and storms over the inland districts of Queensland. They will be isolated, but also possibly lightning active and could even be on the severe side. If we take a look at the longer term projections on the overall computer model forecasts from the 2nd to the 5th of January, you can really see the monsoon kicking in here across northwestern Australia, around the Kimberley, even as far north as the northwest coast. And you can see as you head further east in the territory, those rainfall totals peter out. But don't worry, because what happens is that monsoonal surge will push eastwards, and we'll see that heavy rain extend eastwards across the territory as well. And eventually, we're expecting to see a low spawn up here in the northeastern parts of the territory. Across the West Peninsula, we'll continue to see very active conditions, and we'll see an increase in activity in the Coral Sea, in the northeast Coral Sea particularly, with the development expected of a low pressure system early next week or late in the weekend. Across the North Tropical coast of Queensland and the Tropical coast of Queensland, we're expecting to see a moist easterly stream, probably dumping a fair amount of rain, possibly even heavier than the 50 to 100 millimetres shown here. So keep that in mind when planning your weekend. And the other great news, I guess, is the amount of rain creeping into northwestern Queensland here. Now, this is something we haven't seen for ages, the amount of moisture and rainfall coming into northwestern Queensland from this tropical activity. So the first sign of this new low pressure system over WA that we're seeing is on probably about Friday night. We're seeing this area of very shallow low pressure here just off the coast of the Kimberley. And if we continue to track this shallow low pressure system, you'll see that it'll push very, 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 very slowly, and it's really emphasizing the very part, towards the west or west-southwest. And you can see the system here. And as it does so, it starts to deepen. Now, we'll only take this out to Monday night, because any further than that, we start to see a lot of variation in the model guidance. So, look, at this stage, it is going to be quite weak, and while it remains close to the coast, and then as it just drifts out ever so slightly to the west, is when it's expected to intensify. And if we look at some of the other surrounding environmental conditions around it at the time, first thing we've got to look at is how much moisture is available to the system. And you can see here this blue shading showing us a lot of moisture available to the system. There is a lot of dry air out here to the west, but at this stage the computer model guidance shows that dry air doesn't penetrate into the system. So that's positive. And the next thing we've got to look for is wind shear, and vertical wind shear values in and around the system are going to be low. So it should be all systems go for this tropical low to intensify into a tropical cyclone. But at this stage, we can't say exactly where it's going to go in terms of landfall potential. Fairly similar story on the GFS forecast model. So we've got fairly good agreement between the computer models of the type of track this thing is going to take. And the other thing we've got fairly good agreement on from the computer models is the fact that we are expecting the system to intensify. Over to the east, and well east of Queensland out here, even east of the Solomon Islands, we're probably looking at the computer models now suggesting that a low pressure system will form along the monsoon trough out here a little bit earlier than we first thought. So we're looking probably on the Thursday evening or even Friday, a weak low forming in this area. Now you can see here on the computer model guidance, it remains fairly weak, remains close to stationary, and it takes a little while to get itself together. And as we head into the weekend, though, it does seem to want to try to do that. We have a bit of a surge of northwesterlies pushing into the system, and then we've got a surge of blocking southeasterlies, not allowing it to push too quickly to the south. But overall, it's a very messy looking tropical low, and it'll be located here in the Solomon Sea as we head into early next week. Now, the early signs for this one are that it's going to push in this westerly direction, as we just noticed, lie to about here, and then push in a southerly direction before eventually being either sheared away or pushed away to the southeast. Now, we're not sure which one of those it's going to be. At this stage, vertical wind shear, this is the orange colouring here showing absolutely lethal vertical wind shear across the Coral Sea, which will give it absolutely no chance of survival if it heads too far to the south. And the other thing that we're noticing as well is that there's a lot of dry air coming up into the northern Coral Sea, offset, of course, by a lot of moist air that is located around the monsoon trough in the Solomon Sea. But as the system wants to start to track here into areas of high vertical wind shear, so it's not only going to have to battle high vertical wind shear, it's going to have to battle dry air. So we don't see this one coming towards Queensland at this stage, and if we look at the actual upper level winds around Queensland at the time, you can see all the arrows are pointing west to east, so there's very little chance, if this is a strong system, there's almost a minuscule chance really of it coming towards the coast. Most likely going to stay well offshore. If it remains a weak system, it has the potential to survive in the Coral Sea for a long period of time. But if it tries to develop any depth, or if it tries to become strong, it will be pushed away to the east, or it will die a horribly quick death. Thanks for watching another OCC update, folks. We'll have another update for you on Thursday night, the 1st of January 2015. Have a great New Year's Eve, and we'll talk then.